Namaste all. So I think we had an insight of session from Dr. Parvaji sir and our friend Rishiji. So I think we had a different kind of perspective, different kind of engaging with kind of discourses. So I would just like to present what we are actually trying to do as part of this Yatra, how we are actually constructing some model of research and how we are thinking. So that my whole purpose of this current presentation is about present what we are actually thinking as part of this Yatra. So to begin with, I would like to quote a kind of a very interesting statement given by one of the important philosopher and an important scientist who actually, constructed qualitative research, Martin Heidegger. He says that science is not thinking. He has put forward science is not thinking in the context that we have a thinking process. We involves in thinking many things, imaginations, realistic thinking with, connected with the real world descriptions and all. But he says that in the realm of science, the thinking process is like manipulated, and you are not thinking in the way that actually the organic thinking evolved. For example, science use idealization, abstraction and isolation. So for example, Rishi Bhai was mentioning regarding physics and all. So how the measurement comes from, for example, if I want to measure something, I have to put many kind of statement before that, because I have to say that certain kind of movement which is there without resistance and standing at this context, then I am going to measure it. It is not like that in the real world scenario I am measuring it. I have to put these conditions, then I am measuring it. So it is a context that we construct, then we are measuring. So to put in the context of clinical research, so we will be all familiar, many MD scholars are there, RAV scholars are there, and Sir also has done a great study and observational study. We will be familiar that in the most rigid randomized control trials, we hardly treat patients. We call them as participants. If you are seeing, there will be more exclusions and hardly there will be representation of what happens in the real world scenario. That's what many drugs considered to be blockbusters drugs in the clinical trial setting miserably fails one that comes into post-marketing or in that kind of a setting, because it is the isolation, it is the abstraction that the construction of research has made. Maybe that may not be the same how it is going to engage with the reality. So the important thing in the realm of Ayurveda research is we have to consider the Ayurveda is kind of a system, I'm not restricting with Ayurveda, maybe extending into the traditional systems, that has a whole history of even starting of human civilization itself. It's like part of the great civilization, thousands of years. So very interestingly, there was an important thinker, Nicholas Taleb, I think, he has put forward like a concept called anti-fragile. So what he is telling, if you are going to test a culture or certain kind of concept which is actually beyond of thousands of years, you are not testing the culture, but you are testing the challenge of the time. So it is important that the challenge, it has overcome the experiment of the time itself. So what is important here is that you are evaluating certain kind of culture, certain kind of knowledge which has over the past of history of time, and which has actually has the alignment with human civilization itself. So that kind of a strong consensus need to be imbibed by the researchers when designing a research design for Ayurveda. So that's what, when we are seeing on the real world scenario, whether can we see and observe what happens in a real world scenario when we are constructing a research design in Ayurveda would be very important. That's what nowadays, now these things actually taken up by many researchers. They are coming with very innovative model. There is an interesting model called HEAL, Hierarchy of Evidence Applicable for Lifestyle Medicine. So there is a branch called lifestyle medicine where they will incorporate therapeutic interventions in terms of diet, behavioral kind of things, diet and all. They call it as lifestyle medicine or something. They are saying the stringent protocol of randomized control trial is incapable of evaluating, or I think the better word is assessment. If you are saying evaluation, that kind to be like a hierarchical order. Something on the top is actually needed to monitor everything and grant that it is true or not. So it's better to use assessment. That's what we have to say, that we are assessing. Assessing is like more of like a participatory way. We are mutually doing something. So the word assessment is important. So coming into that point, those kind of innovative research design is coming based on the philosophy of science of the knowledge. So in that way, we have to understand like what is the philosophical construct, and some of the major characteristics how the system of knowledge has been built. So if you are saying Ayurveda, we know that personalized kind of approach and holistic approach is one of the major cornerstone. So we have to think whether the stringent protocols of randomized control trial would be appropriate enough in order to assess the therapeutic intervention of Ayurveda. So I would just like to bring some, like Sir was mentioning about Agni Karma and all. There are now many interesting kind of designs like N+1 trial. Even with one patient, you can randomize with the intervention and you can assess the effectiveness. And we have black box design where you are actually constructing like a real world scenario, and you can apply a guideline of Ayurveda treatment. Not only like a single drug, you can give a guideline of treatment which is appropriate for the patient condition. Then you can compare that with the medicine or intervention what they are giving. So it is not a new thing. When we had a discussion yesterday also. One of the interesting thing is that these kind of intervention need to be considered as complex system intervention, because it involves diet, intervention, behavioral change, everything. So in the same context, we can see surgery, psychotherapy, because this involves also many kind of different components. So that's why there is a greater question that if you are asking a participant in a surgery to involve for a double-blind study, how many participants will be ready? There are sham surgeries are being used, but it's in a very limited condition, because the whole purpose of the surgery is to save the patient, not to demonstrate always the research question. So that's what, on the basis of the context of what we are seeking, we have to analyze. So that's what we are carried away with many kind of things, but it is important to see what context does it going to apply. In emergency medicine, I would ask if some participant is going to involve, whether we are going to make a double-blind placebo or something. We won't do that, no. It was done, but now they are realizing what has happened in the past. So that was an interesting engagement that we need to take. I'm saying that these are the very important questions. We need not to seek any solutions, but to have some critical questions is very important. Ask some critical question, how to engage with these discourses. So that itself make a kind of a consensus how we can build some better structure in the future. That's what my whole idea of presenting this. And to come upon a very specific kind of a thing that we are going to follow, that research with research action. So if you are seeing many research, if you are seeing the academic level, they will sit like in the museum kind of a thing. That is called museumization. That's what, when I used to talk to my Guruji, Brahmadattanji, we used to talk. In many academics, Hagadatandra will be like a museumization. They will talk all about history. It was existing before, like that. In emergency care also, it was the part of museumization. And it is important to see many Western scholars are interested in museumization because they want to make it as only as a history. Now I have recently said that Mr. Charles, I am not calling King Charles. Mr. Charles, they have actually having a great funding to have a wax museum in Ayurveda, because they will be proud to inaugurate, because they consider it as a part of history. But we proudly actually go, and we will also proudly say it's a kind of, but it's important to see the museumization, it's also part of deep colonization that is happening. So how to engage with this also very important. I have seen many corporate hospital, they will be having a huge statue of Sushruta in front of them, but if you want to find an Ayurveda department somewhere, it's like a puzzle. If you success, then you are going to be the winner. I think that's a very complicated. That's what museumization is all about. So those kind of discourses are very important when engaging with this kind of discourses. So to come up with that, the research with research action is all about how we can make a kind of a
We have to complete it.
maybe in the thinking process we can complete. I think even though physically. Okay.
Research with. Yes. No, no one. Okay. Can you guess what is it? Why it is different from the classical research or conventional research or academic research? Someone? Research with WITH. Research with. It's a concept now, it's developing in sociology and anthropology. And we would like to see how we can apply it for the development of Ayurveda research. So for us, it's a really important concept, different from academic research.
We think in Ayurveda, research should be in the clinics.
Yes.
With patient.
Great.
That should be done. Because in Ayurveda, the diagnosis and treatment is done on the basis of presentation of the patient with signs and symptoms. Then you will diagnose which dosha is involved in which place. So holistically, with the patient only we can do the research. Without patient doing the research, it will become just a theoretical discourse. So every stage, even if a patient comes today, you diagnose and give a treatment. After 2 days, if he comes again, his dosha presentation will differ, then the treatment will differ. So that is why Avasthavashayan Chikitsam Kuriyat is told. So your diagnosis and treatment should be according to presentation. So without patient, we can't think of a research in Ayurveda.
Thank you. Someone else? In the common scientific world, who is doing the research?
Scientist. Researcher.
And they do research, but not on them.
With the patient or any subject.
Sometimes with doctors.
Yeah.
Or on doctors' practice. But my question is, during the study you developed here, how many years? 12, 10 years now?
Which one?
On strokes.
20 years.
20 years now.
Yeah.
You can describe a little how happened this research, who was the researcher, who was the team conducting this research, just to understand a little.
I think it is done by clinician himself should do it.
It was the case at that time?
Yeah.
You were driving the research, leading the research?
No, I didn't do research, I practiced. That itself is a research.
Yes. But to transform all this practice into a paper.
Paper is done by, they have done on the observation study. See, someone is there to, we can't do all clerical work, statistical work. This is done by some observer. Some observer is there. What I have told them to prepare that paper, what I have said, I told them you should not interfere in my practice, in the treatment. Whatever I diagnose and treat, as patient comes to me, drug may change according to situation, you should not interfere. You should do only observation. What today, what I have done, tomorrow, what I have done, everything they have documented. All the patients, they have done observation about clinical presentation, signs and symptoms, and at the same time laboratory investigations. Everything is observed and documented. So, do you think research is done by me as a clinician or a observer is done?
I think you start to create it at that time almost the concept of research with. Because usually it's not like this.
Yeah.
The scientists come and ask doctor to do this and that because it will match with the question of the research. And even for observation, the practitioner will not interfere with the question of the study, will not interfere with the writing and the interpretation of the results. So research with is more cooperative work between the scientist and the practitioner and the patient.
Yeah. Right.
So if we go if we go deep in a research with, even we have to ask the patient
Yeah.
how he want to be studied.
Yes.
He published when Tibetan medicine. So that was written by a famous sociologist, Winkas Adams. So the study is like, there was a Tibetan medicine practitioners and biomedicine practitioners. So they got a grant actually to see, because they know that some of the aspect of Tibetan medicine has a good potential in treating H. pylori infection. So they were written objective of the research as like to manage H. pylori infection. Then they have started the study. Then as like it was like an observation study, they were getting the fund to have the participant and to set their research ecosystem and all. After 6 months of the study, when they go through, the patients are improved with quality of symptoms and signs and everything, and they got even improvement as per the basis of their Tibetan medicine approach also. They got cured actually in terms of they are symptoms free, almost everyone, but most of them remaining as same as their status of H. pylori infection. So what happened was the funding for the research has stopped because the biomedical institution has believed that research does not able to meet the objective criteria, so they have stopped. So interestingly, one of the researcher was partnered on that project. She actually went back after 1 year and saw the participant. They still remain as symptoms free. And she go and actually told to the authorities, can we actually go back and report this again as part of research? But they told they cannot do because the research has been ended because it was not able to meet the objective criteria of the research. But very important thing, what is the author is mentioning in that paper, no? After this kind of experience, even Tibetan medicine practitioners believed that clearing H. pylori infection is the main objective of their treatment rather than clearing the symptoms. Because they felt they are inferior, because they were not able to get the grants, and what they are doing is like a pseudoscience.
Can we call it as a colonization?
Yeah, of course. That's what. In this purview, if you are seeing, we can understand what actually the research with and those kind of a thing. So now, if you are writing a case report, there is kind of a thing called imaginative research. So what is the experience of the patient?
That's right. So actually, patient experience is more important than your statistical studies. Because our core thing is patient. That should be enough.
So how to create this type of research for Ayurveda? I think it's more adapted to Ayurveda because it's really personalized. What we want is the benefit of the patient.
Definitely, each person is different, each person's percentage is different, of course, research will be different. It is a personalized approach.
Any suggestion or reaction on this question?
It needs a long run of time period because when we may set different set points to conclude it. Because if it is you take it in a case of Shwasa, so initially if it comes with a stage of acuteness, then we have to end that. Now we have to aim the first line of treatment to end the acuteness. Next step we have to end the treatment. We have to treat total Shwasa. Next step we have to treat the immunity of the patient or whatever the Swasthya. So 3 steps we have to achieve. So what is the end point of the result? Now we have to see whether the acuteness has stopped or Shwasa has stopped or the total person has become Swastha. So 3 points are there. It has stopped there.
Actually, I have a question with ethics. How ethically can we connect Ayurveda and modern medicine?
So, in terms of the current guidelines of randomized control trial, invariably you have to give the standard of care to both the groups. Then you can have as an add-on therapy. That is the first kind of a thing that you can do. So even if you cannot actually give a placebo, what you can give is should not deny any participant giving standard of care. So one arm will be getting only standard of care, another arm will be getting standard of care plus Ayurveda. That is the kind of pragmatic thing that you can actually have as an intervention study in terms of what we are having as a randomized control trial or something. But in the existing practice, as they have done, we can do as an observation study, prospective observational and many things. So that is the another kind of. But when it's come to intervention study, it is important that the standard guidelines will say about there must be standard of care with both groups, and you can have one arm as an add-on therapy.
Do you mean standard means allopathy?
Yeah, I'm talking about the current guidelines of ICMR, research guidelines.
In India?
Yes, not only in India.
But in the world. Do you?
In the whole world, I'm truly talking about the existing guideline. In the truly world, there are many guidelines, especially COM's guidelines there. They will talk about what is available as a national standard in terms of biomedicine. That is considered as the standard of care.
For full world. And do you want to accept this?
No, we need change for that, especially. Yeah.
That is not possible at all.
Can we
Because Ayurveda treatment also standard practice. If you agree that only allopathy treatment is standard practice, other treatment is only add-on, so you will not get any result at all. Because along with the allopathy, if you give Ayurveda treatment, you can't expect any result. This result what we are getting, standalone Ayurveda treatment, what result you get, that result you can't get if you do add-on treatment. What I have observed is, as soon as a acute stroke patient, if you go to an allopathy doctor, he gives mannitol, antihypertensives and other interventions, especially in case of ischemic stroke. By giving this antihypertensive medicines, the blood supply to congested area will reduce considerably. The patient comes with vertical, he becomes horizontal. After that, to revive it, it takes a long time. If I take Ayurveda treatment standalone immediately, that congested area improves blood supply, immediately he will start to move his limbs. He will not become horizontal. This is what I have observed. This is what we have done observation study. But only with the allopathy, if you give Ayurveda treatment, but in later stage you can give, but you can't get that result what we get at an accurate stage. So actually bioscience does not agree Ayurveda treatment as a standard treatment.
Yeah.
That is a problem. You can't compare it. Because another study we did at oncology, this one, hospital. We had one drug for cancer. It is study, this proteomic study was done with the Kanchana Gugul and Madhunashini. What in proteomic study, what we have studied, we find out the whole cancer cells, the colonization stopped with this drug, with proteomic study. Absolutely, there was no development of colonies of malignant cells. So then we came to clinical study. In clinical study, since it is an allopathic hospital, they are not ready to give any patient in a initial stage of the cancer. Initial stage of cancer, they say the standard treatment should be followed first with the radiation, chemo, surgery, everything. After everything, if a patient there is a failure, there is no chance. In such a case, let us study your drug.
I have one objection.
That is, it is ended. There is no treatment in allopathy. Anyhow, patient is going to die. If you give this your drug, instead of patient dying in 6 months, if patient survives 7 months, that is the effect of your drug. Let us see.
It's not a standard.
I don't know.
If you have less than one chance by 2, less than 50% of result, it is even not a drug. It is even not a treatment.
That is what, but in ethical committee they have not agreed. They have started to study. I am one of the researcher in that whole panel from Ayurvedic side. They studied in some of the cases. They are not allowing to give any other drug except this drug. Patient has a complication, you should not give any other drug. So naturally, the result will not be good. Because as the presentation differs, our drug should differ, but that is not allowed. So this is from allopathy side standard way of study. But I think such a study if you are doing in Ayurveda, Ayurveda will not help. It is not useful for Ayurveda at all. That is my
This black box, this black box model can help. The black box model, you define 20, you can define as much as you can, but last time it was 20 drugs. Depending on the strategy,
In each phase you can change the rate.
yeah. That's
you define before.
But
Then you compare two medical systems and the combined one, 3 branch. And you can-
that can be that can be done. But Ayurveda treatment they should give standalone.
Yes,
Ayurveda as a standalone. Then only you can see the effectiveness. Add-on there may be add-on treatment also. It's okay, another group, but one group Ayurveda means Ayurveda, allopathy means allopathy. In Ayurveda, they should not have a restriction of you should give same drug, this drug, that drug. No, not like that. That should not be interference by another researcher. To be a clinician, clinician should read according to presentation.
so if we start cooperation with allopathy hospital, this is something we need to negotiate. If they do studies, they need to hear our methodology of study.
And another thing is in any condition, if you are researching on one condition, if there is any complication is there. For complication you may need both system of medicines, may need it. That has to be incorporated. There should not be an objection for that. That is also a possibility, any study. Because patient is important, his complication should be treated. For the purpose of research, you should not think we should not give that drug, should not give this drug. That should not happen. So that should be taken into consideration by doing the research. But any clinical research, what I am saying, laboratory research you can do. There is no flexibility.
As a standard care of treatment, always they prefer, like mostly they prefer the modern diagnosis or modern treatment because they are comfortable with it. when we look at the international standards, nobody will be interested to look at the traditional perspectives as they don't know it. Unless someone raises the question to change the guidelines, it will always stay the same. So we should make it a trend. I think so. If you are looking at the international guidelines, it will only look at the it will only favor the biomedicine as it is spread all over India. So we should make a we should request a guideline change in especially India to have this change in trend, to make this a standard of, like, Ayurveda is also a standard treatment which provides equal care as, or equal or more, that we have to research. Yeah, that we have to research, but this is a standard care. I think so, before insurance and all, only they will prefer the modern diagnosis, like only with this modern diagnosis you will get the insurance. That too you have to get it from the modern doctors. But now I think so many of the Ayurveda diagnoses such as Mandala Kushtam, if you give that name itself, like Mandala Kushtam or Vada Vyadhi, you are getting insurance. So I think so this is becoming the trend. So I think so this is the right time to make this thing into the research aspect also, to change the guidelines, as the Ayurvedic diagnosis and Ayurvedic treatment is also as equal importance as other disciplines.
Of thinking as well. So when we think of allopathy, what we think of is currently the current generation of allopathic doctors. But I'd like to share about one case that I had, where I had a patient, 18-year-old girl, who was diagnosed with SLE, who came for treatment because everyone had given up on her. And so when they came to me, what they told me is that she was undergoing treatment from a very elderly allopathic doctor, maybe around 95 years old while he was treating her. And with his treatment, she was actually improving. And when I checked the pulse and diagnosed her, my understanding, SLE and all those kidney things aside, was that basically her blood was low and there was no snigdhatva in her body. Rakta less, no snigdhatva. That was as simple as it was. And I started her off on Danvantram 101 Thyla capsules and a little bit of Punarnava with this ideology of trying to correct these two factors. Then they shared about what that elderly physician was doing, is that he had prescribed cod liver oil capsules and iron syrup for her. That was all he did, and she was actually improving in her condition. After his passing away, the son took over the treatment, and his generation of doctors, they are biochemical in nature. They don't. The earlier generation of allopathic doctors were symptomatic, and they would understand what is actually going on within the body. The current generation of allopathic doctors are looking into chemical charts. They're just looking at values, and they're trying to fix what is on a piece of paper. They're not trying to fix what is happening in your body. There's been a shift in the way of thinking as well in this allopathic doctors that's happening. And you see, what I thought of my treatment, there's no difference between allopathy and Ayurveda. That physician who was trained in allopathy, that elderly person, did the same thing that I was actually thinking of and doing, and both worked and was improving her. But it's a shift in their thinking process as well which has created this. So the current generation, they're looking at the chemistry, the second stage. So the chemical change comes as a second part when the mechanics has changed. Mechanics function changes, then the chemistry changes, then the structure deteriorates. So their intervention, the current generation of the physicians, is at the second stage of the chemical change that is occurring in the body, and they're just trying to correct this chemistry, the biochemical aspect of it. They're not looking beyond it. So I believe that if we are able to communicate where we are not excluding that. We do have this concept, so like Vata, Pitta and Kapha, function changes, chemistry changes, then the structure changes. Yes, you do look at this, you are looking at the same thing that we are, but our treatment and our intervention is a step beyond that, it's a step before that. If we are able to communicate this aspect to them, and to people who are capable of listening as well, you can't go and talk to people who have shut their ears. So if you are able to communicate this to them and make it inclusive, you're not trying to exclude them. And with that understanding, people who really want to learn and want to do good, they take it up. So I think it's also to do with the communication, very much of how both do come into play. It's not just about drug, it's not about the medicine you're giving, it's about the thought process. See that the cod liver oil and the iron syrup, of course iron syrup will cause constipation, all those things are there, but the ideology at a certain level was the same. It's not just a difference in the systems, it's a difference in the way you have been looking at the body. And this is it's a generational change which has happened with the current generation of allopathic doctors. So if we can bring this up, if we can communicate this, make it inclusive, not in terms of drugs and the material that we use, but in the thought process, I believe we should be able to.
I think the thought process is disappearing in allopathy. because we have technology. So now we don't observe the patient, we ask them to do CT and lab. Then we take time with the lab and CT.
Exactly. You're seeing the structure and you're seeing the chemistry, but you're not looking a step beyond, which is the vata that we are doing.
And also, what I want to add is that even though what Rishiji said that they are looking at the chemistry, but most of this chemistry and these principles will be known to the researchers, not doctors. When I talk to the modern doctors after reading many research papers on the modern medicine itself, asking questions like, what they have is the crude idea that we also have. What we have to talk, what the main talk, what the knowledge is back of them with the researchers who are developing this medicine. They are the ones who are struggling and thinking. What in Ayurveda community, we have gone through all the process from making the medicines. We are looking at every aspect. So when the talk is only to the doctors of allopathic medicine, they are just trained in only that way, just see this disease and there is a protocol, follow the protocol, that's it. They even can't make a new protocol or change in a protocol. There will be thousands of questions they have to answer. So I think so this is a big problem which constricts the view of an allopathic physician. So I've talked to my cousin, he's an emergency medicine doctor. So I talked to him, what is the probability of applying emergency medicine, what you can't treat, if a patient that you think is going to die? What is the possibility of implementing emergency medicine in Ayurveda over there? So what he said was that in Kerala especially, so he said that it is not possible because every hospital has a protocol. Even though my family is laying over there, even I know the medicines what to give and all, the hospitals wouldn't allow to go against their protocol. So this is a big constraint to the doctors also. Those who are pro Ayurveda also, this is a big constraint to them. So we have to look at multiple levels, the researchers level, the hospital administration level, the doctors level. So we have to have a bigger plan, we have to convince more set of people, I think so.
Can you share the study you shared with me yesterday with the...
They were making their own medicines. Actually, they were trying to make mixtures and...
Before Second War.
Yeah.
We lose the possibility to make our own
Yeah.
drug after Second War. Because it was so good.
One of my mentor, he was a modern medicine doctor. He was a very vehement propagator of traditional medicine also. He was a physiologist. He used to say that the freedom that you have as a traditional medicine you are not realizing, because you can make your own medicine and you can diagnose your disease with your own capability. He was telling, once the pharmaceutical industry is stopping, I will be running without anything. I am just like a elite kind of a clerk who is prescribing. That he was telling. So the important thing is that what he was telling, it's also the responsibility to think, there are set of people, it's like a crude compartmentalization. There are some kind of cohort of people who is discovering certain molecules. There are certain people who is actually have the research on clinical research, and doctor who doesn't have any connection with that, he is just simply giving the medicine, and the patient who doesn't know everything, he is just consuming it. So that's why in the earlier times, we are saying the involvement of patients in research is called as subjects. Rather than like subjects, almost like an object.
No, object.
Yeah. Then now it's changed to participants. At least. So that's where actually we have to consider that context, I
He is
think.
participating because he is saying something he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And also before, doctors were called as apothecary, the person who prepares and sells medicine. So that concept is long gone, and it is just now a business, the person who sells medicine. That is what my understanding was, I think so.
This question was there in my mind for a long time. How to differentiate between mixopathy and integrated medicine?
It's my question. And I think it's difficult if we keep the same terminology, because integration, it can have multiple sense. And there is a very good article from Sushruta, a sociologist from Delhi, who explain the risk to use integration in medicine, because most of the time integration is a big fish eating a little fish, and he will integrate well the little fish in his body. And what's happened now with the PG doing a lot of research in the Western way, they give a lot of food for big pharma. Thank you. So integration can be done, but we have to define very precisely which type of integration you want. So now I try to, with the team, to see how we can change the terminology. And from my side, I think cooperation is best, because cooperation is everyone in his field try to increase his knowledge at the highest level to cooperate well with the other. And in cooperation, for me, there is a sense of respect, mutual respect. But I think this question is open, and I would like to hear from you.
He was telling that, like in Ayurveda, there is a notion that a randomized control trial has to be the legitimate kind of a thing. So he's telling, if Shuddha Chikitsa, as mentioned by Charaka, that if treatment is going to cure the disease, should not cause another disease, have to be the yardstick in order to consider the regulatory process of a biomedicine. How many can actually pass? So can we think on that line? And then we can see that he was telling, if that can meet the objective, then that is a real science. In the both way. I think our Samhita Siddhanta, actually they have to explore this kind of a thing, how the concept of Shuddha Chikitsa can be explored further in this.
I have a basic question. Why do we need research studies in Ayurveda? Whether to make it standardized, or we are considering the ethics, and to compete with that we need the research study. Why do we need the research study basically? I have this question always, because if we are thinking about the standardization, it is very wrong if we are doing the research in Ayurveda for the standardization. Like I am doing literary research work now because I can't do the clinical study of getting a Shreyasi Praja in 3 years. It is not possible. So that is why I took the literary study, because literary work is very less in that area. While doing the study only, I was thinking, if I make I made a template also. If you want to get a Shreyasi Praja, from where you should start premarital counseling, from there till Jatakarma, and till 5 years or 8 years of child growth. But still, it is not a standard template, because Ayurveda is subjective. You can't just say that if you follow this protocol, you'll get Shreyasi Praja. We have to see the karma, we have to see the Atmaja Bhavas. There are a lot of things in Ayurveda where we can't standardize one thing. Like if we are treating a Vata in clinical research, we want to prove that this one any like Simanada Gugulu or one drug is standard for Vata. That is not possible, because patient to patient it will differ. So why even we need to do the research work? That is a basic question.
I think so, because if you say that there is no protocol in Ayurveda, I think so. I have to disagree without harming anyone. I have to disagree, because when you look at all the Upakramas, that is a protocol, right? We have to do. So without protocol, what happens? I think so. It would be a chaos. Like if a person doesn't know what to do, if there like Snehana is there, I think so. Without like this medicine, without drug, we have to make it an idea protocol, not medicine protocol. Like you have to give only this medicine to that. So I think so. We have to change the thinking method. Not like medicine. We have a lot of medicines. The application of that idea. What is the suitable situation? What we have to perform. I think so. If we can make a protocol to this, it will also maintain the creativity of the each doctor, and also it will also make a basic quality assurance thing also. I think so. Quality assurance is a main thing what many people are very assured. I think so. This would balance both of them.
It's protocol is already explained in text what we did, and that the protocol has to be followed. That is what Acharyas say. We are doing research on what? I mean, that is the basic question I have. What we want to prove at the end? What is the aim?
I'm not from Ayurveda, so I can easily answer in a different way. I think if you do research, I would like to ask you to do research to see how you can upgrade Ayurveda to the context of today. Because the texts are many years. The interpretation of the language and of the idea, the concept, the thought process at that time, I think our mind and our belief change a lot. So I would need you to do research to understand your thought process today. If it's matched with today's context.
So to add on that, since one of the important thing I feel that in the contemporary scenario, science is a brand. I mean, I'm just saying another aspect. So science is a brand in such a way that it's almost like an establishment where it can be nurtured by the policymakers and all. That's why there is a great debate on which all discipline needs to be scientific. See, even in the Western academia, now they are saying why science is a part of science academy. Because they also need funding. Fellowship, funding. So if you need funding, you have to establish something as scientific, as it like that. So if you see even politicians, nowadays they will be talking about scientific development, not like people-friendly development. They also changed. Because they fear that if they use not the correct way like people-friendly development or socially relevant development, they may be also defamed in the public or they will lose the funding. So there is a whole consensus over using this word in all manner. So even that's what, have you thought about there is no Nobel Prize for mathematics? Have you ever seen anybody has got Nobel Prize for mathematics? Yeah. Why mathematics is science or not? Can we have a falsibility study in mathematics? I'm going to falsify. Writing a hypothesis, null hypothesis.
Can we do business with mathematics?
Yeah, I mean, that's a financial point. Yeah, so if you are entering into those kind of, there is an ending kind of debates can happen. Even physics people will say chemistry is a soft science. Medicine is not considered as science by physics and chemistry because medicine is still considered as a soft science. In medicine, psychiatry is considered as pseudoscience for many. Psychology is considered as pseudoscience. Even dentistry. So this this science pseudoscience debate going to be this can to be never going debate. So what is relevant for me, take in a pinch of salt what I'm going to say, it's my perspective. One important thing for me is to how to get into the policy kind of a thing through in the terms of science. For me, certain research is part of public outreach. I'm saying certain part of research. For example, I'm always inspired by that statement. Once I used to say, Sai Baba was, many people used to tell him that many people are criticizing you. They are saying you are doing pseudo magic and all. His immediate response was, I'm thankful to those people because they are actually spreading my publicity and they are actually spreading my visibility card or visiting card. Moreover, they are criticizing his visiting card is being spread more. So in the same way, how to actually spread the visiting card of Ayurveda to reach into the public outreach, how to reach into the policy, how to get the funding for what, then arises what we have to do next. So I think these both processes has to go hand in hand. And in the second context, I just this thing. So, to do research, I believe two things are important. Either if I'm saying that I know everything, then why I should need to do science? I mean research. If I'm saying I don't know, that I'm not believing that, then I don't need to do research, because ultimately, if I'm not believing and I'm not believing that there is a scope to do something, I'm wasting the resources. Even if I'm saying that I know everything about that and I'm attempting to do, again I'm wasting the resources and participants. So the important thing is that I have a confusion. That's what we call as clinical equipoise. I have a critical doubt where I need to explore something. That's where the relevance of research question is there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not questioning about the research, whether we have to do or not. I'm questioning, I have the doubt because research, what now it is going on, whether they allow us or they will accept this science, because without any kind of profit there. So we are just forcing us to get fit there. Is that necessary? That is what my question was.
I think it's for this we do this type of research workshop, because we have to disbuild our idea on research. We are constrained with their rules, but research can be any research. A child of 3 years old is full-time in research.
But it is not acceptable.
No, why it's not acceptable?
They have that standard protocol.
No, they have let them ways.
Yeah.
Why Ayurveda community cannot start their research? Maybe at the beginning they will say, oh, it's not scientific. But after thousands or lakhs of publication, where everything is logical, you can go back to Jnana to explain how it's logic. People will start to, oh, okay, I read some scientific, will go in, and little by little, it will take time. But at one point, maybe it will change totally. Because in allopathy, they make a lot of protocols and difficult rules, but 80% of the paper are fake. So this we can look at it, and their credibility will not go for very long. But there is no alternative. It is like a religion, but no other religion. Where to believe? People are lost. So it may be time to create ethical research adapted to traditional medicine. But for this we have to disbuild our mind, saying, oh, we have to follow this, only this. I think the PG, they have to create a movement. Okay, now we don't follow you. You don't validate my PG, I don't care. I will publish. And we have to create journal who can publish this. Oh, they are not recognized. Okay. But if after 2-3 years there is 100 journals in India, all linked, I think something will change.
It's a good question, in fact, because when you look at the concept of research, this is not just a modern terminology that we're using. We have this in our classical texts, Yugan Rupa Sandarbha, and then Prati Samskarana, Agamana Lochana. It's all of you basically adapting the basic concepts, fundamentals to the current era, current situation. So this has always been happening, but there has in fact been a long stagnation. I remember Krishna Kumarji used to always say, when was the last Samhita written? He used to always ask this, when was the last Samhita written? The last Samhita, which was Ashtanga Hridaya, was the last actual research book where the fundamental values, the principles were adapted to the current era of that time. And we have lost that gap. There's been a big, huge gap. Of course, we have had Nigantus and we know the confusion within the Nigantus that exists. But we have not had any proper text which has adapted the fundamentals to that current era and situation. So we have lost this gap. But that's the principle of Prati Samskarana. Prati Samskarana is basically you adapting that knowledge to the current situation and context. And what we are doing in the name of research now is just to validate ourselves. And how much will we try to validate ourselves? We are going to be neglected because we are just doing that, this drug is working, or that medicine is working. How much will we show that these particular substances or materials are working? The fundamental principles are not being validated yet, and we have not been able to communicate that. So So our research should actually begin with translational research, which is the fundamental, and building upon which you adapt it to the current materials, context, diseases, conditions that we have, and bring that into the picture. So research is required because that has been the way of our ancestors. That has been the way of the Samhita. That's how these Samhita Shastras have existed, and even in past now. Say if Ashtanga Hridaya didn't exist, I wouldn't know half the things, because by reading Charaka, for me, Ashtanga Hridaya made things more easily graspable. So I owe Laghu Bhagbata a lot, because he made things easier for me to grasp. But imagine if there was someone else in between who came along and wrote another Samhita, how much more easier would it have been for us to understand our own science. So there has been a long gap, and this has to be picked up. Of course, not saying that we should write Samhitas, but on our part, we should do some bit of Prati Samskarana as much as possible and adapt that to the current situation, context, diseases, pathology, causes, and the materials that are available for intervention, and based upon the principles. So that is what I feel is required, but we are not doing that. That is what we are doing now is just attention seeking, and we are not getting in.
And this is what the modern doctors, scientists even say. Whenever we come up with the research of like Kamlaki Rasayana has a good study, and these studies, when we publish them, we are very happy. Oh, this drug is accepted. But what they say is that, oh, this is herbal only. This is herbal medicine, not Ayurveda. So they will ask, prove about Tridosha, prove about this. These are not accepted. So Ayurveda is, you are saying. I'm not saying that it should be scientific and all, but what we are doing is just promoting herbal medicine, not Ayurveda. Unless I think so, the core principles of Ayurveda, like Rishiji is doing very well in biophysics and Ayurveda. I think so. That's physics is just like Ayurveda. It is based upon theories, and we have to prove that theories. So that is where it is different. We are looking up to modern medicine, which is chemistry based, but Ayurveda is more physics based. So that needs us to change our idea how to perceive things and perceive on research.
Because Western science is constantly evolving. Until a while ago, it was all biochemical or structural that they were seeing. Now they are understanding physics. And you saw one of the slides that now we're going beyond physics. So they are constantly evolving while we are stable in nature. But we need to adapt our stable principles to their, because when I say their, it's not just the scientists of the Western world, it's the common people as well. It's the ideology of what the common people are educated with. So our purpose is to uplift the well-being of the common man. It's not to validate ourselves to another group of people who are wearing black shoes, coat, suit and tie. There's no point. That's not the purpose of science. The purpose of science is to uplift mankind. So our purpose is to educate all of everyone around us, and what everyone is being educated with is the current understanding of what they consider as science. So we need to adapt ourselves in our communication to what is existing around us right now as time goes. So now I'm talking physics. Now after I'm dead, and my say some other amazing person comes along who's way far more sharper in his thought process. He'll be talking in terms of quantum, something beyond even physics, something that's even more subtle, because then the Western world will have that language in which you can communicate it. So Western world being the world around us right now, because we unfortunately have been, the British has colonized almost the whole world. So it's that education which has been, which is the basic education of the whole world. So that becomes the language in which we have to educate the common person as well. So we need to not adapt ourselves, but adapt our language according to the time.
And even though they are working on this, have a lot of understanding of Ayurveda, and they have told the Ayurveda community. There was some doctor in UK, I think so, I forgot his name. But here, when I talked with him, what he told was that what he told was that it is, you can see epigenetics in Ayurveda. So for example, what he said was that in many medicines, what they use is that the first born milk, the cow, when they after the first born, that milk is used. So it contains a specific content which is now being researched, which is the current trend, in the research fraternity. So this has high medicinal value than any other milk. So these we are using through our principles. That is just the trend now. Also you could see about the nasal drops or nasya which is being accepted, and that only they are doing lipid only. Lipid nasal drops, others won't work. What is that? Just nasya. So we have everything. It's just our mentality. It's a suppressed mentality. Unless we go about that, the knowledgeable persons in every field will validate it. If those who have ignorance, that will go past by. And we will go after the ignorant persons. So there are many, those who are very good in physics, biology, who goes deep into, they do their tabas. It's their tabas, this science. So they'll accept any knowledge. So we have to link with them. After talking with them, we will feel a lot of ourselves that we are a part of very big, rich tradition of scientists. All the rishis, everyone is just scientists. They do tabas. It is tabikiva. We means that heat ourselves.
Right now we are living in Kali Yuga. So understanding Tridosha will be very difficult right now because it is in a circular consciousness. Our consciousness is decreased much in Kali Yuga, which is lowest when compared to other 4 yugas. So it is very difficult to prove it to modern medicine doctors about Tridosha.
We don't need to prove anyone. We just need to show it works. That's what research is. Showing the evidences. We can say, ask them that if they are traveling, cold air comes, what happens to your skin? It becomes dry. It is an evidence. So we have to document these evidences are what they ask. So we also need how to communicate to them. That is also a big thing. So we need to understand. They don't know. We have been formally trained. They are not. So communicate with them and they will understand and they will get the evidences that a normal person, not the persons who are at the ears as Rishi said. We don't need to prove anyone. It's just those who wanted to know actually what is this, we can provide them.
That is what I meant. We need not give to anyone.
We should be
And
collecting data.
Yeah. We are also there. We are also there. Look at us. Look at us. It is not necessary. That is what I feel. If we are doing our tapas, our yoga silently, or we are serving the people, sitting in a clinic like how sir is doing, we all are here today to learn from him. In the same way, it should happen in that way. That is what I feel.
And so I'm glad that you mentioned about Kali Yuga, because just before you mentioned, as you was talking, the same thing struck me. I was thinking, oh no, we are in Kali Yuga, we are surrounded by more idiots, knowledgeable people. So it's because I have interactions with allopathic doctors and they tell me about how much they struggle in their own community to speak out and to voice out their understanding of what is happening. So many people understand mechanics of what is happening, but they cannot speak out because then the others shut them out or they simply cancel their license. That's how it works. So these people who seek knowledge are they themselves, trapped in the system. So we are in Kali Yuga, but that's when I used to also be like this. I used to think, okay, if I sit in my corner and do my job, good enough. But say that, in a community of physicians, one person has the knowledge, one person has, the ability. You don't need to use that knowledge as a sword to fight against, because it is Kali Yuga. You can't keep going and cutting the wheat. It's going to keep growing, and that's the law of nature right now. So instead, use that knowledge as shield, because what you speak out will act as a shield for 10 other people who cannot. So they don't need to talk the same values that you do, but they can just say, shut up, go and see this YouTube video, I'll just forward it to you. And the person who is speaking out science, he would have that video that is uploaded that will speak out for an entire community. So we do need to do research, but not to use it as a sword, but to use it as at least a shield for knowledge to survive. I believe.
I think it is time now to have very few words on research action, because this is research with. Because most of the time one researcher will come and explain you you have to do research and even decide the subject of your research. But now we talk about this point. But what about research action? Because a lot of talks, but when to start? And how to start? So today we are here with Dr. Parvajji. I think he has a lot of experience and a lot of folder with a lot of patients treated successfully. How we can help him, support him to create knowledge validated by this community, transferable to next generation.
So I am clinician, I will tell only clinical things, not a researcher. Okay. Hello. So, with Ayurveda, how we can develop is, see, I am doing, for example, I am saying, everybody, they are doing their own clinical job. So, we get a result by giving a treatment. First case gets very good result. We will be very happy. But second case is most difficult. Because first case may be yadricha, by luck. Second case, if same case comes, same type of patient comes, it may not be same drug will not work. The patient comes with the same confidence. You have cured for that patient, that's why I came. So first case comes with all the diagnosis, second case comes fresh. We don't know how to diagnose, what treatment should be given, what is the protocol. That is really difficult in a clinical practice of Ayurveda, I am saying, because there is no set protocol, set medicines. So this difficulty I think all the clinicians will have just after starting your practice. So what she said, why this research is needed. If I see number of cases of same types, for example, a stroke or ischemic stroke, I give you different treatments, all these things. So you can see common protocol and drugs are differed according to dosha vikalpa. If I have a data, if I publish it, or tell all others this is the way, I think they also have, if they get the patient, they also can treat according to that, if that data is there. If data is not there, if I say one case I get success, I tell him this drug is very good, then if he uses the same drug, he will not get any result. Then he says it is a useless. That is what happens in Ayurveda. The knowledge will not develop. If this data research is done about 1500, 200 patients, so if such a protocol is there, such are the medicines we can do according to dosha vikalpa. If pitta is there, you give this drug, kapha is there, give this drug, kevalavata, this drug, these are the situations you can do it. So others also can follow. A multi-area point study can be done, then the data will improve. So like that, for one disease you can develop a protocol and drugs can be developed according to that, which are the, already drugs are there, which drugs should be used, when should be used, avastha avashena and where you should use. This can be developed. This is how research should be developed. It will be useful for all the practitioners. First it should be done in institutions, especially colleges it should be done. Then once it is done in the colleges, then it will spread to all the physicians, like that. If individual people may, like me, it will be just like an island. It will not spread. In colleges, if it is done, it will spread because transformation will be there. Vertical and horizontal translation will be there. Knowledge will translate. So I think it should be done. That is why research should be done and knowledge should be spread. So that is why when I did this Ksharakharma for hemorrhoids I am doing, it was not being practiced anywhere. In 1990, 30 years back, I have developed this Pratisaranya Kshara. So it was not being practiced anywhere. Why I have done this one is very interesting thing I will tell. One patient came to me after because I am a surgeon, I am a Shalya Tantri fellow. He came with hemorrhoids. He asked me, you give treatment to this hemorrhoids in Ayurveda. I examined him. Then he told me, what you are examining? Already 2 surgeons have examined and advised surgery. I told, as a surgeon, I should examine. I have examined him. I told, you are having hemorrhoids. So what you do, he asked me. I will do surgery, excision should be done. So already 2 surgeons has told the same thing. If you are saying the same thing, what is the difference? Why I should come to you? I should have done surgery there itself. Then I thought, my practice will not go now anywhere. Because every patient will come tell same thing. Already surgeons have seen what you are doing. You are doing same thing, you can't get patients. So then I revisited Sushruta Ayurveda, what the treatment is there in Ayurveda. So usually when we were studying, we used to do surgery, excision of the hemorrhoids, hemorrhoidectomy is being done. So I started revisiting the Sushruta Ayurveda. The Kshara Karma is there for the hemorrhoids, 2nd degree or 3rd degree. So what in market we get the Kshara, if I apply it does not work. So that means that is not correct Kshara. It should be prepared, but no one knows how to prepare it. So I did studied deeply about that particular about Kshara Karma. Prepared Kshara. About 25 times I have studied, prepared this Kshara. For 1 year it took. Then I get correct proportion, correct Kshara is prepared. Then I started practice of this Kshara Karma. Slowly developed. For about 8-9 years I was practicing alone. Then someone has told it should be spread to others. Then in a conference I told, then in some other colleges also I went and trained other surgeons to do this procedure. Now it is being practiced all over India.
And this it is not a very good subject to be published.
Many publications are there from Ayurveda colleges. They are doing publication of this subject of Kshara Karma. It is being done because if you teach the colleges and professors, it will spread vertical and horizontal. That will spread. Like that, I think other thing, whatever you study and get a knowledge by your practice, if it is shared in the college, if the other thing is they should accept it. That's very important. Acceptance in colleges is not easy because there is a many ego matters will be there. But if they agree, definitely you can spread this knowledge through this one. And if it is spread in the colleges, then many students like her, if they are in college, they can have a study on it. Different studies can be done: ischemic stroke, hemorrhagic stroke, or other strokes, lacunar inflammation, or MCA territory, posterior. All these things can be studied differently according to Western science diagnosis and according to Ayurveda diagnosis also. You can have a conceptual integration. Not paracetamol with Amrita is not integration. I don't need such integration. Integration should be conceptual. In the concept, you can have integration. So, for example, what I am saying integration means if a patient comes with infection, infective disorder, a fever, all these things. By modern science now, with the modern technological advancement, we will be knowing which bacteria is involved. So which bacteria can be killed with in a drug. So, but Krimi Prakrivigata is done, but Amapachana should be done according to Ayurveda. That integration can be done. So in the modern science, what they do is they kill the bacteria, then do Amastambhana. So, symptoms are suppressed and Krimi Prakrivigata is done. After some time, patient becomes all right. 15 days, 20 days, Samadosha avastha is not achieved, again reinfection will be there. But if you do Hetu Viruddha, that Krimi Prakriti Vighata with Western science and Ama Pachana is done according to Ayurveda, there will be Samadosha Avastha is achieved very fast and society can be benefited. That is you can have an integration. I think in the acute state, what we are practicing, acute state, I am doing all these things. Some complication happens. Then if I have the help of integration of modern medicine, therefore Amastamana Chikitsa, definitely my treatment can be continued. Otherwise, you say pure Ayurveda, pure allopathy should be done. Immediately, I should refer the case to a modern physician, modern hospital. Then Ayurveda treatment will be stopped there itself. You will take only allopathy treatment. Then this also, result of this also stop, that also stop. But if integration is there, naturally we can have a better result to the patient, to the society. It can be helpful. Like that also we can have a research. Data can be developed in different centers, and if such a data is developed, you will be understanding where a modern intervention is needed, where only Ayurveda can be done, where only modern should be given. These all things can be exactly you can understand if you develop a data. Then definitely it will be helpful for the society. I think it should be done in institutions or individual persons is difficult, not possible. But in different centers it should be done. So you can prove it. I think researchers will do like that. Only one center result may not be agreeable. Different centers, if you repeat same result, it will be agreeable for everybody. Here we are not proving what is in Ayurveda. We are what is already done in Ayurveda. We are substantiating it, and it is given to the society. So this can be done in research activity.
I'm not sure research is just to prove. I think research can be just to share what's happening
to understand what it is.
Yes.
How. That is why it is there. Society to understand. To make them understand, it should be done like that. It should be done. I think you can take it forward further. That's what my all youngsters, everyone can take it forward.
One idea came in the team is Gurus has now Shisha from RAV. How we can build something with RAV students to initiate some help for research for the Gurus, because they are very busy. There are a lot of data already. How we can coordinate something where the student can help the guru to selection data, to share data, to publish. Because clinician full-time engagement, more than full-time. So we need someone, and I think it's interesting in the development of a clinician to know a little about research, to practice it and to help, to go deep in the subject, even in the practical clinical situation. So how we can do this? There is an RAV student here.
This is done and submitted to the RAV. For last 8 years we have
Submitted.
To the RAV, not published. What is that? Data is there in RAV.
That because that actually comes part of their RAV kind of thing.
RAV engagement comes.
Okay. No, but I think the idea is good.
Yeah, data is there, but it is not published anywhere in any.
What we publish, like we could send also, we can publish this also just for
That can be done. It can publish.
How many years?
The last 30 years.
30 years. And we hear this today.
Since 1990 it is there going.
And no one asks what they do with this data.
And 30 cases per month. From that, they will select any special case and they will publish in the TARS report. Then we can visit that for investigation.
So just before concluding, just making a very brief kind of a thing, that to end up the session, the research with movement is also about conceptualizing research question with the community which we are doing the research. So for example, we are actually trying to have a research in integrated emergency Ayurveda. So the Ayurveda domain, Ayurveda physicians, Ayurveda researchers themselves had to actively participate in order to conceptualize the research, objective research question. It is not the thing that an independent researcher comes up, he finds something in the literature and searching for what has to be done. So we will be sending all, we are requesting to give all your WhatsApp or email ID which is possible. So we will be sharing you a Google form. So we are requesting you to prioritize 5 areas of research you actually feels that there must be research, and there will be a specific question that we need to get from your side, and I just want Sir to have that, which will be very important. The important thing
in Ayurveda, for pandemic, they send a specific thing. You see, two things are there in Ayurveda. One is the preventive aspect. The pandemic happens because of adharma, is told in Ayurveda. So, adharma of the society, adharma of the authorities. So, if adharma of authorities and society cannot be corrected by single physicians, I think whole society should correct it. Because when adharma is there, adharma means naturally they are not doing their proper duty. Naturally the air, water, everything, qualities become poisoned, and that is why we take that poison. All our immunity decreases, then we get the disease. So from Ayurveda perspective, as a treatment perspective, we are doing Rasayana Chikitsa, should be done. But Rasayana Chikitsa, again, individualistically different Rasayanas should be given. I think it is really difficult for physicians to do it. If whole society or these things are involved, then Rasayanas can be done. So I think in that way, they are doing the yoga all our world is developed. That is also a Rasayana, Achar Rasayana comes. So Vyayama, Vitanam, Viruddham, Vitanam Bhavet. Even Viruddha becomes Satmya. So that is a type of Satmya Rasayana. You should do Vyayama, all these things. So that only that can be done, I think. So if we should promote this Achar Rasayana, all these things, that what we can do. More than other things, it is not in our hand, but we can promote it. Dharma should be, adharma should not be done. That means their work, everyone should do as such properly. That itself is a management of any pandemic.
So, any specific recommendation, like any specific training or competency building, or what can be the structure of learning in order to face this kind of pandemics or emergency in the future?
I think psychosocial correction itself is the main thing told in Ayurveda, should be done by society. That is the main thing. That only it can be corrected. So you can't change the lifestyle of the society. Naturally, it is not possible to prevent the pandemic to happen again. You can't expect to give a single drug and you prevent all the disease. Not possible. Okay. So you will conclude session.
I want to share one and to give a feedback after the Yatra on all the answer of the participants.
We had a very good time here, which was a rare occasion and special for all of us. And I think everybody, all the brains have become little larger hearing the speech from each and everybody, and more interest in Ayurveda and how we can integrate more Ayurveda and allopathy together, and how we can give a society the best of from all the disciplines. And I would request somebody from here, any two of them, to tell their opinion about this session. Any doctors who are here can tell their opinion.
It was a very knowledgeable session for the whole day. Actually, I'm so new to learn Ayurveda only. These things are like boosting up for my knowledge and encouraging to learn about Ayurveda in my future.
Now I request Dr. Vivek.
I attended yesterday's session in Muniyal also. Today's session was, I felt it was a bit better than yesterday's session. So, everyone will praise your work indeed. So I wanted to give some constructive opinion of mine. So I chose this opportunity to speak. So, in your session, sir, I felt like if you had inculcated more of applied, like more clinical oriented examples to explain the physics, it would have been more interesting to the audience and they would have felt more enthusiastic about this. And this session was meant to be more on emergency management, but that aspect was there, but we need little more from we need more from this session. So that was a bit of lacking, I felt. And thank you for the opportunity.
Dr. Vaidya Prasanna.
Good evening, gallery. It's been our privilege to be from our Ayurveda emergency team to be in your campus with our knowledge, with our ideas. And always we are in the journey to accept your ideas as well, though it helps our overall work in a complete performer. So we are more privileged, we are more honored to succumb your knowledge, sir's ideas that will help our work in much more larger scale, and we can reach this platform all over India. That's been our motto, that we've been started our journey. So today in this debate, I actually came to know that the research protocol that we've been practiced is with some drugs, with the medicines. We actually sharpened our ideas and knowledge in the clinical practices itself. But I would like to vigor up ourselves in Pradisamskarta of our own science to make it more reachable to the Western audience, so that we can actually stand out and we can be outreachable with our knowledge, that we are way more better with the invention discoveries that the Western world are being doing. So, like every Ayurveda scholars, every Siddha scholars who are sitting, who are actually learning, who are succumbing the new knowledges, they can actually work with the already invented, already our samhitas, with the factual knowledge. We can actually correlate with the modern discoveries, and we can actually go beyond the level, and we can prove ourselves that we are outstanding from any of those inventions which been so far invented. So I think we need to travel from the clinical aspect as well as from the theoretical aspect, and way more. Even for the next pandemic, we have to make ourselves fit with all the dinacharyas, ritucharyas and swasthya sanrakshana, so that we can make a population more cultured, more healthy, more scientific, so that even any science that the Western world would bring will not be useful for us, because we will be even we won't be getting the pandemic like the way they decide. We'll be more healthier, and we won't be, we'll be cultivating a healthy environment within ourselves, so that we can prove to the people, not with the Western world or not with the Western science or something. We can actually prove to the people, prove to the world that we are much more far better than treating, or much more far better than making our society in a more healthier way. So that's what, and we are more honored to be here. Thank you all.
Recognize Abhimanyu Abhijit, 10th generation of traditional Vaidya, final year BMS. Please come. Now, over to Dr. Harikrishna Parnaji to talk a few words. He is the proprietor of SDP Remedies and Research Center, Puttur.
Dear my all friends and doctors. So, Tadvidya Sambhasha Buddhivardhanam. So, today I think so many Sambhashana, Tadvidya, Prayoga is done, I think. So, as I know, when doctors told today, I thought of the emergency things, how to manage in Ayurveda clinics. In our doctors, we are very much lack of emergency treatments. If one person come with a fever, so many medicines have. How to treat? So we have baby vomiting. How to treat? Coming with so many severe pain. How to treat? These are our emergency things where Ayurvedic field are suffering now. So another one is these are the now the data-based, evidence-based, I think. Everything you have to show. If you do any research in Ayurveda or any place, you have to show that how you show the evidence. So we have very good knowledge. We telling in Ayurveda, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Tridoshas, Saptadhatus, everything we have, and analyzing. But we only the doctors, Ayurveda doctors, we know how to how we are analyzing. But we have to show what is Vata, what is Pitta to the publics also. So that is the need of the day, I think. It should be done. Otherwise, how can you show our work to the public? You show it by the evidence. If the Ayurveda is based only this Dosha, Siddhanta and Saptadasa, but we all know very well. So in modern era is one doctors, when medicines came, is that medicine not researched by only the doctor. It is researched by some pharmacologist or some scientists. So for Ayurveda field also we need some software persons, some engineers. So because we can't present our what we know. So what is Vata, what is Pitta, you have to show it. So for that you have some research work you have to do. Any symptom, if you come with severe fever, which type of fever? It is Vata fever, Pitta, Kapha. So I can analyze. Our doctors are, we know, but how to tell? If I put so many medicines for Ayurveda, for fever, Tripona Kirtis and Martunja is there, so many. Which drug you can? How we when you have to give, and how do you give? For that you have some analyzing you have to do. So that need only the Ayurveda not work there. For that you have some engineers, some softwares. So that work have to be done. That is so many times I am thinking that you are all gathering, Ayurveda doctors gathering. We have so many things. Where science is very great. Always you tell me, but how to present to the public? So that work have to be done. So that is a lack from our field, I think. So in emergency medicines, so many we are doing. We coming with huge swelling with this Kostuka Shirsha, you have the pain. So you can't bend. The patients coming very with painful knee joint with swelling. Without painkillers or any NSAIDs, you can treat. So what type of, how you diagnose? You know, that is a very burning sensation there, in the pitta is there, or a heaviness there, kapha is there, you can tell. So what selection of drug, how? So these are the analyzing. So with the data, I have to only doctors one thinking, that's the position that they have to analyze. So these works are have to done in this field. So that is my sincere request to the research field doctors. So we are the my work is last 37 years and practice in the clinic. So I have my own ideas for some disease, for any type of case come, how to treat. But I am also some lack of knowledge, how to present to the public. So that is a lack of knowledge to me also. So we doctors we can share. So I can tell you these are the symptoms, that is the that is pitta. But so these are to be rolled out in our that Ayurveda field. So that is the first thing. So good work is going on. I think not only the India, so Western countries also join this venture. So now world is looking for India, because here is now is boom Ayurveda. So many patients are coming to the Ayurveda, need the Ayurveda treatment. So we also Ayurveda people also be prepared for the such situations. So in that era, the pharmacy is also very important, because Vishak Dravyani Upasartha Rogi Path Chatustayam, you know. So for in Ayurveda, every treatment, Vaidya is important, drug is important, and nurses are important, and then Rogi himself. Rogi. So 4 members very important. So any research work, the good medicines also it should be. Otherwise, we can't achieve any result. For example, so many medicines are coming out. So you use so many classical products also. If you prepare very in a proper manner, then only you can get the result. Then we can also research on that. For last so many years, I giving one medicine. So that is I prepared as a Nisha Amruta. It contains Nisha and Amruta for allergic basic problems. So you can say you give Nisha and Amruta. It give only Nisha and Amruta in allergic symptoms. But I make some improvement by giving Bhavana. It is processing the some other drugs for same drug many times on that product. It gives enhance its result. It improves the potency of that drug. So in Nisha Amruta, I gave 5 times process the same medicine. So it gives a much better improvement. There is I think the nanotechnology itself. It is a nanotechnology. Our ancients have researched told. These are the things we can do. But for every Ayurveda field of research, this type of research also should be done. So cooperate with the doctors, pharmacists, and go to manufacturing field also necessary for our achievement of the good result in Ayurveda. So thank you for calling me, all the good doctors and very knowledge persons the other day. I hear some 2 members talk here. So very nice. So our Ayurveda knowledge should be spread like this only. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation telling that how the data should be collected and how it should be sent, how it should reach the public person along with the help of other professionals also. Thank you so much. A few words.
Thank you very much to have this beautiful day full of thoughts and knowledge. And we would like to have to start a little thanks for receiving us, and we would like to acknowledge you with one tradition from Kerala. And for us, every gurus we meet on the way, we would like to thank the Guru in a specific way and to create an appreciation of what we call, I think, in Ayurveda as Prana Acharya. If we can start this during our journey, and you will be the first one. We are going to create this and to send to you.
Thankful to the Ayur Emergency Yatra for giving honor to me. So, I think you have started your journey from here. Last 4 years it started. Actually, practically it started yesterday. I congratulate you for doing this whole yatra possible. I will appreciate. Let this yatra bring all the knowledges of emergency care in Ayurveda all over India by visiting different centers, different doctors. You collect it and present it to the society so that whole Ayurveda community will enhance its knowledge and everyone can practice emergency care in Ayurveda, practice in different places. Many of them are practicing it, let it enlighten, everyone get that knowledge, and we can incorporate whichever other knowledge is there. You are taking knowledge from everywhere and collect it and let it be spread all over India. That this section of Ayurveda, especially emergency care in Ayurveda, let it develop, and so that the confidence of all budding doctors will improve, so that Ayurveda will develop. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all for coming to this session for whole day. Thank you very much.
We'll end up with the program by the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नाम